Have you ever wondered what happens, legally speaking, when a factory has a major accident and pollutes the environment? Who's on the hook? Well, today we're going to dive into two really powerful legal rules in India that are designed to hold industries accountable: strict liability and absolute liability. So here's our game plan. We're going to break this down into 5 parts. First up, we'll lay the groundwork with the basic principles of liability. Then we'll jump into the classic doctrine of strict liability. After that, we'll look at India's much tougher version, absolute liability. Then we'll see how these rules actually work in the real world. And finally, we'll tie it all together with a quick review.
All right, let's get right into it. We've got to start at the very beginning. What are the core ideas, the legal foundations that these liability rules are built on?
Okay, before we go any further, we need to be on the same page with a couple of key terms from India's Public Liability Insurance Act. First, what does the law consider an accident? Well, it's pretty specific. It's any sudden, unintended event involving a hazardous substance that ends up harming people or property. And what about a hazardous substance? That's basically anything the government has officially put on a list and labeled as dangerous under environmental law. It's as simple as that. You know, at the very heart of this entire discussion is a simple but really powerful legal idea. It's summed up in this Latin phrase: sic utere tuo ut alienum non laedas. All it really means is this: enjoy your own property, sure, but do it in a way that doesn't mess things up for someone else. This is really the cornerstone of all environmental liability law. So think about it like a balancing act, right? On one side, we absolutely need industries. They provide jobs, they make products we need. But on the other side, we need a safe and healthy environment. So how does the law try to find that balance? It uses a really interesting concept called no-fault liability. Basically, this means that if a company's operations cause harm, they're responsible, period. It doesn't even matter if they were being careless or not. The fault isn't the issue, the damage is. Now, this whole idea of no-fault liability isn't exactly new. It actually has its roots in a super famous English case from the 19th century called Rylands versus Fletcher. This case is what gave us the doctrine of strict liability. So, for strict liability to kick in, 3 things have to be proven. First, someone has to bring something dangerous onto their land. Second, that dangerous thing has to escape from their property and their control. And third, the way they were using their land has to be non-natural. We're talking about something like building a huge industrial reservoir, not just, having a normal bathtub. If you check all 3 of those boxes, you're on the hook. But, and this is a big but, this old rule came with a few get-out-of-jail-free cards. There were 5 main exceptions. For instance, you wouldn't be liable if the victim was actually at fault themselves, or if the escape was caused by a so-called act of God. Think a totally unpredictable massive earthquake. You also got to pass if the victim had agreed to the risk, if some random stranger caused the problem, or if what you were doing was specifically authorized by a law. Let's actually look at the case that started it all: Rylands versus Fletcher. So here's what happened. A guy built a reservoir on his land, but surprise, underneath were these old, forgotten mine shafts he didn't know about. He fills up the reservoir, the water bursts to the shafts, and floods his neighbor's working coal mine. The big question to the court was, is the reservoir owner liable even if he wasn't negligent? And the court's answer was a big yes. The ruling was historic. If you bring something dangerous onto your land, you have to keep it there, at your peril. The owner was held liable, and just like that, the no-fault principle of strict liability was born. But here's the thing. As industries became more advanced and, frankly, more dangerous, Indian courts took a look at strict liability with all its loopholes and exceptions and decided it just wasn't cutting it anymore. So they created something far more powerful: the doctrine of absolute liability. Okay, so what is absolute liability? You can think of it as strict liability on steroids. If a company is doing something hazardous, say working with toxic chemicals, there are absolutely no exceptions. The logic is pretty straightforward. If you're going to profit from a risky business, you have an absolute, non-delegable duty to the community to make sure nothing goes wrong. And if it does, you are 100% responsible for the damage. No excuses, no way out. The tragic reality of why the stronger rule was needed became devastatingly clear after the 1984 Bhopal gas disaster. A massive toxic gas leak from a Union Carbide plant killed thousands and injured hundreds of thousands. It's still the world's worst industrial accident. When the case went to court, the Supreme Court was unequivocal. An enterprise dealing with hazardous materials is absolutely liable for any harm caused. The case eventually ended in a court-assisted settlement of $470 million. But the legal groundwork for this was really laid in the MC Mehta case, which came after an oleum gas leak in Delhi. It was here that the Supreme Court of India flat out said that the Old English rule from the 1800s was just not good enough for modern, industrializing India. They officially pioneered a new, much stricter rule: absolute liability. They declared that industries involved in hazardous activities are completely liable for any accidents, with zero exceptions. So you've got these really powerful rules that came from the courts. But how does the government actually put them into practice day to day? Well, that's where the statutory framework comes in. To make sure victims get help fast, the government passed the Public Liability Insurance Act back in 1991. What it does is force any company that handles hazardous stuff to have insurance. The whole point is to provide immediate, no-fault relief. So if an accident happens, victims don't have to go through a long court battle right away. They can make a claim directly to their local district collector, who can then award compensation from something called an environmental relief fund to help cover medical bills and other urgent costs.
Let's see how this all works with a few practical examples. Scenario 1. A factory has every single safety measure in place, top-of-the-line stuff, but a gas leak still happens and kills someone. Are they liable? Yes. Under absolute liability, there's no escape. Scenario 2. What if a leak comes from a tank that officials knew it was faulty? Again, the industry's absolutely liable. And it's not just about huge chemical plants. Take a different case. A prawn farm pollutes its neighbor's rice paddies with salt water. Here, the polluter pays principle applies. They have to pay for the damage and pay to fix the environment.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. Let's pull everything together and do a final review to make sure it all makes sense. So how do you figure out which rule applies in any given situation? It's actually pretty logical. Here's a simple roadmap. Step 1. You ask, is the activity inherently hazardous or dangerous? If the answer is yes, boom, you apply absolute liability. Case closed. If it's no, then you move on to check for strict liability. Was there a dangerous thing? Did it escape? Was it a non-natural use of land? If you get yeses, then you check one last thing. Do any of the 5 old exceptions apply? If not, then liability is established, and it's time to award compensation. All right, let's do a super quick final recap of the must-know points. Strict liability, that's the Old English rule from Rylands versus Fletcher, and it has 5 exceptions. But the big takeaway from modern India is absolute liability, which came out of the MC Mehta case. It applies to all hazardous industries and has 0 exceptions. And it all goes back to that fundamental idea: you can't use your property in a way that injures others. Thanks so much for tuning into this breakdown of India's environmental liability rules.